Captain Theo Reyes stood on the deck of his patrol ship, the Raven, staring at the stars. He wasn't supposed to be here. He used to be a diplomat, not a fighter. But now, the galaxy had changed. The Imperium, a powerful alien empire, had declared humans a non-compliant species. They wanted Earth to join them, follow their rules, and give up freedom. Earth said no. That's when the attacks began. Theo had seen entire colonies burned from orbit. The Imperium didn't care who lived or died, only that everyone obeyed. Humanity didn't have advanced technology like them, but they had something stronger, the will to fight back. "Captain," his pilot called from the front. "We're getting a distress signal. Small pod, life signs detected. Not human." Theo walked forward, eyes narrowing. Location: Sector Delta 9, near the ruins of Outpost 4. That outpost was destroyed 2 days ago. Theo leaned over the console. The pod was spinning in space, its beacon weak. No escort ships, no weapons. "Bring it in," he said. The crew moved quickly. A few minutes later, the escape pod landed gently in the Raven's docking bay. Theo approached it in full armor. He didn't trust anything from the Imperium. The pod hissed open, and thick, cold mist rolled out. Inside was a young woman with glowing silver eyes and golden skin. Her dress shimmered like starlight. But she wasn't just any alien. Theo knew her face. Everyone in the galaxy did. "Princess Kavera Selene," he whispered. "The heir to the Imperium throne. Missing for 2 weeks." She opened her eyes slowly, blinking as if waking from a dream. Her voice was weak but proud. "You are human." Theo raised his rifle. "Yeah, you're lucky we found you." Kavera tried to sit up but winced in pain. "I did not want to be found. Not by them." Them. The Imperium. Her own people. Theo didn't understand yet, but something was off. Why was the princess in an escape pod, alone, near a destroyed outpost? And why did she look so scared? He lowered his weapon slowly. "Why are you here?" Kavera looked at him, her voice soft but serious. "Because I ran away." "From what?" "From my wedding." Theo blinked. "You started a war to avoid marriage." "No," she said, her eyes suddenly burning. "I started freedom." The crew around them exchanged confused looks. Theo just sighed. This was supposed to be a simple patrol. Now he had the galaxy's most wanted royal on board, and she had just declared herself a rebel. Things were about to get a lot more complicated. Princess Kavera sat quietly in the medbay of the Raven. Her hands were folded in her lap, her back straight like she had been trained for this her whole life. But her eyes told a different story. Fear, confusion, and something else. Curiosity. Captain Theo Reyes watched her through the glass. He didn't trust her. Not yet. He had sent reports to Earth Command, but they were hours away from answering. Until then, she was his problem. Theo walked into the medbay. Kavera turned her head, her silver eyes meeting his. "You're awake," he said, keeping his tone neutral. "I am," she replied. "And still alive. That surprises me." "Why?" She gave a soft, bitter smile. "Because most people in your position would see me as a threat. I am the daughter of your enemy." Theo crossed his arms. "You said you ran away. From your own empire." "I did." "Why?" Kavera looked down at her hands. "They wanted me to marry the son of a warlord. He is cruel, power-hungry. I was just a piece on a game board to them, a tool to gain control of his armies. And running away caused a war." She nodded. "My mother was furious. She blamed Earth, said you corrupted me with your human ideas." Theo scoffed. "We've never even met before." "Yes," Kavera said, her voice suddenly soft. "But I studied your people, your history, your culture, and I thought, maybe there is a better way. Maybe not everything must be decided by bloodlines and fear." Theo stared at her for a long moment. This wasn't the usual arrogant alien noble he expected. She spoke like someone looking for hope, for change. "You were a diplomat, weren't you?" Kevara asked. He raised an eyebrow. "How do you know that?" "I read your file," she said simply. Theo Reyes, Earth's youngest peace envoy, known for making enemies listen without firing a shot. That was a long time ago. "Still," she said, looking at him with something close to admiration, "you tried to make peace in a galaxy that only understands war." He didn't know how to respond. This woman, this alien princess, was nothing like the Imperium leaders he had met. She wasn't demanding or cruel. She seemed tired. "What do you want, princess?" he finally asked. She looked him in the eyes. "A place to think. To decide my next step. I do not wish to return to the Imperium, and I do not wish to cause more bloodshed." Theo sighed. "You're a political bomb, you know that. Earth will freak out when they find out you're here." "I know," she said quietly, "but you found me. So now, we both have a choice." Theo looked at her. Maybe it was madness, but something told him this wasn't just the start of a war. It might be the start of something much bigger. For the first time in her life, Princess Kevara was on a planet without guards, cameras, or royal rules. Theo brought her to Earth, but not to a government building or a secret base. He took her to a small city in the mountains, his hometown. He told the higher-ups she was in hiding. Earth Command didn't like it, but they owed Theo more than a few favors. She wore a long coat, sunglasses, and a hat to cover her glowing skin. Her royal look was gone. Now she looked almost human. "Try to act normal," Theo said as they walked through a crowded street market. Kevara raised an eyebrow. "What is normal for humans?" "Eating fried food, complaining about the weather, and pretending everything is fine," he replied with a grin. Kevara looked around. There were people laughing, selling things, dancing to music from old speakers. She had never seen anything like this. In the Imperium, public gatherings were silent and controlled. But here, everything was alive. Theo bought her a stick of spicy grilled meat. "What is this?" she asked, staring at it. "Street food." She took a bite, then coughed and gasped. "It burns." "That's the spice," he said, laughing. "Welcome to real flavor." She fanned her mouth, then smiled. "It's painful, but I like it." Later, they passed by a group of teenagers dancing in the street. Loud music played from an old radio, fast beats, electric guitars, and wild voices. Kevara stopped in her tracks. "What is that sound?" "That?" Theo said. "That's rock music." Her eyes widened. "It's chaos." "Yeah," he said proudly. "And it's beautiful." Kevara watched as the dancers moved with freedom and joy. No strict steps, no fear. She suddenly felt something stir in her, a feeling she couldn't name. She turned to Theo. "In the Imperium, we have music, but it's soft, controlled, like everything else." He nodded. "Here, we don't like being controlled." She looked at him, studying his face, his eyes, his quiet strength, his humor. "I wish," she began, then paused. Theo turned to her. "You wish what?" Kevara looked away, almost embarrassed. "I wish I could marry someone like you." He blinked. "What?" "I mean," she said quickly, "someone. Free. Honest. Brave. Not chosen for me." Theo chuckled, scratching his head. "That's sweet, I guess." What he didn't know was that her words were dangerous. In Imperium law, a royal's wish, spoken aloud, could become a binding bond claim if witnessed, and her bodyguard's tracking drones had just picked it up from orbit. Kevara had no idea she had just triggered an ancient law. Theo just laughed, shaking his head. "Marry me, huh? Good thing no one takes that seriously." But far above them, in a silent ship, a red light started blinking. The sky above Earth looked calm. But in orbit, a silent Imperium ship hovered behind Earth's moon, hidden by cloaking shields. Inside, alarms blared. A message played on repeat, recorded by a drone. I wish I could marry someone like you. Princess Kavera, Selne. The Imperium officers stood frozen. This is a bond claim, the commander said in shock. She has chosen a human. Back on Earth, Theo and Kavera were sitting on a rooftop, watching the sunset. Kavera sipped something called soda and was still amazed by how it fizzed on her tongue. I don't understand how your people live like this, she said. So wild, so free. That's kind of the point, Theo replied with a small smile. We don't have royal bloodlines or arranged marriages. We choose who we love. Kavera looked at him, her eyes full of questions. And if someone important says they want to marry someone, do your people force it? Theo laughed. No, that would be crazy. She smiled, but something in her heart felt heavy. She hadn't meant for her words earlier to be serious, but she couldn't stop thinking about them. Suddenly, a sharp beep came from Theo's wrist communicator. Captain Reyes, said a voice from Earth Command. Return to base immediately. Situation. Classified level red. Kavera's face grew serious. They know, don't they? Theo frowned. Know what? Minutes later, they arrived at the underground command bunker. Screens flashed with breaking news from across the galaxy. Every Imperium channel was showing the same headline. Princess Kevara Chuhuzes Human. War Declaration XPSTTD. Theo stared at the screen, his mouth open. You've got to be kidding me. An Earth general stepped forward. You didn't know. In Imperium law, if a royal says they want to marry someone, and that message is confirmed by a witness or a drone, it becomes legal. I was joking, Theo said, holding up his hands. She didn't mean it. But the Imperium thinks you did, the general replied. And now they're calling it a betrayal. They've labeled Earth a criminal planet for stealing the bloodline. Kavera stepped forward. I didn't steal anything. I just spoke a wish. The room fell silent. Theo turned to her. Kavera, what does this mean? She took a deep breath. It means you are now my bondmate, and by law, the only way to undo it is with trial or war. Theo stared at her, stunned. So what? We're engaged now. She gave him a guilty look. Yes, and half the galaxy wants to kill you for it. Theo rubbed his face. This is why I hate politics. Outside, warning sirens began to sound. Imperium ships were entering Earth's orbit. The war they didn't start had just gotten personal. Earth's defense systems locked on to the Imperium ships above the atmosphere. People in cities looked up in fear. The news channels ran the same story. Alien princess triggers ancient law. Human captain now target of galactic threat. Inside the bunker, Theo stared at the screens. His face was calm, but his mind raced. They're not just sending ships to talk, are they? He asked. The general shook his head. No, they sent a royal execution squad. Their job is to correct the mistake before the law becomes too strong. Kavera stood tall, anger in her voice. They mean to kill Theo and take me back by force. Can't you stop them? Theo asked. I cannot, she said. Once a bond claim is announced, only the High Council can cancel it. But my mother controls the council, and she would rather see you dead than see me choose a human. Theo clenched his jaw. He wasn't a romantic hero. He never wanted to be part of some alien fairy tale. But now, people were in danger because of him. I need to leave, he said. Get off world. Draw them away from Earth. Kavera stepped closer. No, if you run, they will hunt you across the stars. You need protection. From who? Earth doesn't have half the tech they do. She looked at him, then turned to the general. Let me speak to the people. 10 minutes later, every screen on Earth lit up. Kavera's image appeared. No disguise, no hiding. Just her face and her voice, full of strength. People of Earth, I am Kevera Excelme, Princess of the Imperium. I did not come here to conquer or control. I came seeking freedom, and I found it in your world. I chose a human, not because of politics, not because of power, but because, for the first time in my life, someone treated me as a person, not a prize. The Imperium will come for us. They will try to crush this bond. But I tell you this, if Earth stands with me, I will stand with Earth. I will fight for your right to live free, as you have inspired me to be. The message went viral. Across Earth, millions watched. And for the first time, humans saw an alien not as an enemy, but as an ally, a princess who believed in them. Later, in private, Theo looked at her. You really believe in us that much? Kevera smiled. I do. Humanity is wild, unpredictable, but your hearts are strong. Your ideas are dangerous to empires like mine. Because we don't bow, he asked. She shook her head. Because you make people dream. Just then, a voice crackled over the comms. Captain Rice, enemy forces entering atmosphere. Theo took a deep breath. Then let's show them what humans do when someone tries to take our future. The sky turned red as the first Imperium ships broke through Earth's atmosphere. They didn't bother to hide. They wanted fear. They wanted everyone to see who was in charge. But Earth was ready. Captain Theo Rice stood at the front line of Earth's orbital defense base. He wore his armor, black and silver, marked with the Earth Alliance crest. Kevera stood beside him, dressed in battle gear too, Imperium made, but with Earth's colors. Are you sure about this? He asked her. She nodded. They're not here to talk. They're here to erase what I said. If we give up now, they'll destroy Earth next. Theo turned to his team. You heard her. This isn't just about a wedding or a law. This is about freedom. So let's show them what humans do when we're pushed. The first enemy dropship landed outside the base with a loud boom. Its doors opened, and armored Imperium soldiers stepped out. Tall, glowing, armed with plasma blades. But they didn't expect what came next. A blast of sonic charges from hidden cannons knocked them off balance. Earth's mechs moved in fast, not as shiny or advanced, but strong and fast. They had one job: hold the line. Theo led the charge. His squad followed him into the smoke, firing EMP rounds that messed with the enemy tech. Explosions shook the ground. The battle was loud and wild. Nothing like the clean, controlled Imperium wars. Kevera fought too. She moved with grace, her dual blades flashing like lightning. She had been trained by the best, but this was the first time she fought for something she chose. For Earth, Theo shouted, blasting another enemy drone from the sky. For freedom, Kevera answered, cutting down a squad leader. The Imperium commander watched from his ship above. He had expected a quick surrender. He didn't expect resistance this strong. And he definitely didn't expect the princess to stand against him. Bring the royal enforcer, he ordered coldly. Back on the ground, the tide of the battle shifted. A massive figure landed in the middle of the field, nearly 10 feet tall, covered in black armor. The royal enforcer, silent, merciless, trained to deal with royal betrayals. Kevera froze. That's him. He's here for me. Theo stepped in front of her. Then he's going to have to go through me first. The enforcer raised his weapon, a staff that crackled with energy. Theo didn't flinch. You are unworthy, the enforcer said, voice like thunder. Theo smirked. Yeah, I get that a lot. Then the fight began, and it was nothing like the others. This wasn't just a war anymore. It was personal. The air sizzled with energy. Theo stood face to face with the royal enforcer, a being built for one purpose: to destroy anyone who broke Imperium law. He was taller, stronger, and covered in armor that glowed with deadly power. But Theo didn't back down. He tightened his grip on his pulse blade, a weapon used only in close combat. Around them, Earth soldiers and Imperium troops had paused. Everyone knew what was about to happen. A one-on-one duel. Honor demanded it. "You are just a human," the enforcer said, his voice deep and cold. "Not fit to touch royal blood." "I didn't touch her," Theo said, raising an eyebrow. "She touched my heart first." The enforcer didn't laugh. He attacked. The ground shook as the giant charged, his staff slamming toward Theo like a bolt of lightning. Theo rolled aside, barely dodging the first strike. He jumped up, swinging his blade at the enforcer's side. Sparks flew, but the armor held strong. Kavera watched from the edge of the battlefield. Her fists were clenched. She knew the enforcer's style, brutal and precise. No mercy, no weakness. But Theo had something else. Grit. He didn't fight like a soldier. He fought like a human. Wild, clever, stubborn. He used smoke grenades, flashlights, and even dirt to blind the enforcer. At one point, he slid under the enemy's legs and slashed at the cables behind the armor's knee. The enforcer growled. "You fight like an animal." "No," Theo said, breathing hard. "I fight like someone who has something to protect." The enforcer swung hard, hitting Theo in the side. The captain flew through the air and crashed into a pile of metal. His blade slipped from his hand. Kavera ran toward him, but two soldiers held her back. "No, princess, it's his fight." Theo struggled to stand. Blood dripped from his mouth, but he didn't give up. He grabbed a broken piece of his blade and faced the enforcer again. "You should have stayed in your place," the enforcer said. Theo wiped the blood from his lip. "Funny. I never liked staying in one place." Then, as the enforcer raised his staff for the final blow, Theo ducked low, spun around, and drove the sharp edge of his broken blade into the open part under the enforcer's arm, the only weak point. A flash of blue light burst out. The enforcer staggered back, then fell to his knees. Silence. Then a thud. The ground shook as the giant collapsed. Kavera broke free and ran to Theo. "You're hurt," she cried. "I've had worse dates," he muttered, half smiling. The crowd was stunned. A human had defeated the royal enforcer, in front of both armies. Kavera stood and shouted to the sky. "Let all witness this. The bond is real. The law is clear. Earth is under my royal protection." The battle stopped. But far above, her mother was watching. And she wasn't finished yet. Not because of clouds, but because something massive was blocking the sun. A ship, the size of a city, slowly descended from orbit. It was the royal flagship of the Imperium. Made of silver and black crystal, it looked like a floating palace from another world. Inside that ship was the most powerful woman in the galaxy. The Empress, Kavera's mother. Theo and Kavera stood at the top of Earth's defense base, looking up. "She's here," Kavera whispered. Her voice had no fear, but there was pain. Theo looked at her. What's she going to do? Anything to break the bond, even if it means destroying Earth. An energy beam from the ship formed a platform, and within seconds, a tall woman appeared, floating down with grace and power. Her eyes glowed with silver light. Her crown shimmered like a star. Every soldier, human and Imperium, stepped back as she landed. The Empress looked at her daughter. "Kavera," she said. Her voice was cold, calm, and sharp like ice. "You've brought shame to our line." Kavera stood tall. "I've brought truth." The Empress turned her gaze to Theo. "And you, human, you've corrupted my daughter." "I didn't ask for this," Theo replied. "But I'm not running from it either." The Empress raised one eyebrow. "You truly believe you're worthy of royal blood?" Theo stepped forward. He was still bruised, his side still bleeding from the battle. But his voice was steady. "I don't care about blood. I care about her. She made a choice, a real one. Isn't that what power is? The freedom to choose." For a moment, the Empress said nothing. Then she lifted her hand. A flash of blue energy burst out, and Theo was thrown back. He hit the ground hard, groaning. Kavera ran to him, placing herself between him and her mother. "That's enough," she shouted. "I am not your tool. I am your daughter. You are the future of our empire." The Empress shouted back. "Your blood is not yours to give away." Kavera's voice shook. "Then I don't want the throne. I don't want power if it means I must be a prisoner." The crowd gasped. Even the Empress froze. "You would give it all up for him?" she asked. Kavera looked down at Theo, who was trying to stand. She helped him up, then looked her mother in the eye. "Yes, I would." The Empress stared at them in silence. Then she spoke quietly, almost sadly. "Then the throne is yours no longer." A wave of light passed through Kavera. Her royal symbols vanished from her skin. The Imperium guards behind the Empress lowered their weapons. The law had spoken. Kavera looked down at herself. She was no longer a princess. She was free. Theo took her hand. "Are you okay?" She nodded. "I'm not a princess anymore." He smiled. "Good, because I never needed royalty. Just you." The Empress was gone. Her ship vanished into the sky, leaving behind silence and broken clouds. She had taken her army with her. No more threats. No more war. Just the heavy quiet after a storm. Kavera stood still, looking at the sky where her mother had disappeared. Theo walked up beside her, wiping the blood from his mouth. "So, that's it." Kavera didn't answer right away. Then she said softly, "That was everything I've ever known. And now, it's gone." Theo placed a hand on her shoulder. "You're free now." She looked at him. "Yes, but freedom is strange when you've never had it before." Soldiers around them began to cheer. Earth had won, not with bigger weapons, but with heart, truth, and one brave choice. News spread fast. Across the world, people celebrated. Across the galaxy, planets whispered about the day a princess gave up her crown for love and for Earth. But while others celebrated, Theo and Kavera sat quietly in the command center. She held a cup of warm tea, staring into it like it held answers. "I don't know who I am now," she said. "Without the crown, without duty, who is Kavera?" Theo leaned back in his chair. "You're someone who stood up to the most powerful person in the galaxy. Someone who picked her own path. That's already more than most people ever do." She smiled, just a little. "And what about you, Captain Reyes?" "I'm no captain anymore," he said with a laugh. "I've got enough bruises to retire twice." Kavera tilted her head. "Then what will you do?" He looked at her seriously. "I don't know, but I wouldn't mind figuring it out with you." Her eyes softened, even without a crown. Especially without one. The door to the room opened, and the general stepped in. "We have a problem," he said. Theo stood up quickly. "Another invasion?" "No," the general said. "Something different." He tapped the screen. A new signal blinked on the map. Several alien ships were approaching Earth, but they weren't from the Imperium. "These are rebel factions," he explained. "Other planets that were under Imperium control. They saw what Kavera did. They saw Earth stand up. Now they're looking for help. For leadership." Kavera blinked. "They want me." Theo looked at her. "You're a symbol now. The princess who said no." She stood up slowly. "I never wanted to lead a galaxy. But maybe I can help it heal." Theo nodded. "Not as royalty, but as yourself." Kavera looked at the stars on the screen, planets calling out for hope. She took a deep breath. "Then let's build something better. Not an empire, a family of worlds." Theo smiled. "Sounds like a good start." And together, they stepped out onto a new path, not of war or thrones, but of unity and hope. A new sun rose over Earth, brighter than ever before. Not just because of the clear skies, but because of the hope spreading across the planet and the galaxy. It had only been a few days since the Empress left, and the war ended, but everything had already changed. Ships from other planets began to arrive, not with weapons, but with open hands. These were the forgotten worlds, once ruled by the Imperium. Now, they were free, and they had one thing in common. They trusted Kavera, not as a princess, as a leader who had walked away from power, for love, for truth, and for freedom. In Earth's newly built Unity Hall, a shining glass dome in the center of the capital, leaders from across the galaxy gathered. Humans, aliens, and machines all stood together. Cameras hovered in the air, broadcasting the moment to every corner of space. Kavera walked down the steps of the stage, dressed not in royal robes, but in a simple blue coat with Earth's symbol on the chest. She didn't carry a crown, just her heart. Theo walked beside her. He wore his old military jacket, patched and worn, but still proud. He didn't like speeches, but today he stood tall, knowing the world had changed because he believed in something greater. Kavera stood at the center. The room fell silent. We were born on different worlds. We speak different languages. We lived under different flags. But today we begin as one, she said. This is not a new empire. This is a promise. A promise that every voice matters, every choice counts, and no throne controls our future. We were strangers. Now, we are family. The room erupted in applause. Back at Earth's outer orbit, a massive station was being built, the first base of the Galactic Unity Network. It would be a place for peace, trade, science, and shared dreams. Later that night, Theo and Kavera sat under the stars on a quiet hill, away from the noise. They looked up at the sky, full of ships, satellites, and hope. You really started something, Theo said. We, she corrected him. You were the first to treat me like a person. You made me believe I could be more. Theo smiled. So, what now? Kavera looked at him with a soft smile. Now we build. Together. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, simple ring. I still remember the first thing I said to you, he said. Kavera laughed. I wish I could marry someone like you. He nodded. Well, maybe it's time I stop wishing. Her eyes sparkled. Are you asking? He smiled. I'm hoping. She took his hand and whispered, Then my answer is yes. Above them, the stars twinkled, brighter than ever before. A human and an ex-princess, side by side, building a future where love, freedom, and courage were the strongest forces in the universe. And so their story, once unbelievable, became a legend. The end.